Hi, I'm Dr. Burkenstock, owner of Skin Body Health in New Orleans, Louisiana, and also in Mandeville, Louisiana. Today we're going to be talking about cellulite. We're going to do a demonstration on cellulite lymphatic drainage and why cellulite can be improved with simple home methods and why you don't know about it. We'll show an exact demonstration as we go on through the particular webinar tonight. First of all, let's talk about why cellulite accumulates in the first place. Well, cellulite are a bunch of toxins, junk particles, and proteins that are way too big to fit in the vein or venous system. And I'll say more about that in a moment. So when these particles get trapped between the fascia, which is a layer above the muscle, and the skin, then it becomes sort of like an integrated network which doesn't serve us any purpose but to pull in the skin and cause a dimpling or a cottage cheese effect. Some people are genetically predisposed to this, kind of in their genes and not so much fun. Other people with increased weight gain can form cellulite on the legs, buttocks, arms. One of the things that we do know is it's not just an overweight person's disease. Do not have to be obese or overweight. This is also a skinny girl's disease, but one that can be tamed and in many times get to a major resolution in a problem that's driving you crazy. One of the first things I want to say first and foremost is that you absolutely must have 8 cups of water minimum a day. Water flushes through the lymphatic system and helps you drain toxins and poisons. So let's talk a little bit about the science behind the lymphatic system. Well, the lymphatic system is not a closed circuit and it's not a pump. On the other hand, there are 2 other sets of tubes in our bodies, arteries and veins, that are based on a pump mechanism. So the heart contracts and pumps and pushes blood through the arteries. They go down through the body to the capillaries, and then the vein picks up the blood that has dumped off the oxygen to all the organs to feed them and is now taking toxins, poisons, junks, and proteins back up to the veins to be released through the circulation and breathing. Well, there's also something else that happens. When the heart pumps, sometimes there are junk, fat cells, proteins, and other toxins that can't fit into the smaller veins that are returning up to the heart. When this happens, the junk, or the proteins, fat cells, toxins, are caught up in the lymph. Well, because the lymph doesn't have a pump system, it can't bring up those toxins and poisons and readily dump them off into the lymph nodes. Eventually, the lymph nodes will get rid of the junk, toxins, poisons, proteins, fat cells. But there's no mechanism to get them up there. So if you're not a marathon runner, and sometimes even if you are, if you've got the genetics for cellulite, and you don't eat well, if we're doing the pizza, the processed foods, the ice cream, the junk carbohydrates, the fast foods, junk and toxins and poisons are going to get caught in our lymph system. Many people don't know that there's only a few lymph centers in the body. Those lymph centers can get the fluid and the toxins away from the fascia and the skin, thereby lessening the cellulite cottage cheese dimply look. If we get rid of those toxins that are caught between the fascia and the skin, then we have a more slim and toned appearance, and we really can lose some of that cottage cheese appearance. So if you're a grade 4 very severe, we might be able to get you to a grade 2.5 or 3. If you're a grade 3, we might be able to get you to a 1.5 or a 2. If you just got a few, we might be able to get them rid altogether. So there are some things you can do at home which we will teach you shortly. Also, in a spa or a med spa, you could do some radiofrequency, and that radiofrequency laser will help pull some of those toxins, poisons, fat cells up into the lymph nodes and out of the body. So, we know we shouldn't eat pizza and processed foods. Number 1, it's bad for our heart, bad for our cholesterol, and now we know it's creating dimpling. The majority of women in mid-age and older, and sometimes even in young women, are collecting these cellulite bumps and lumps, which absolutely aggravate them. Sort of can look like cottage cheese or worse. So we want to avoid the processed pizza and fast foods. Well, what kind of foods do we want to eat? The foods that bring in a lot of water to the body will help naturally chase the poisons and toxins to the lymph nodes to therefore be brought out of the body. Some of those foods are like papaya and oranges, high in vitamin C and antioxidants. Cherries and berries, your low glycemic sugar index fruits that are absolutely wonderful for helping us leach some of these toxins out of the body. Believe it or not, a little bit of red wine or red grapes. But red wines even have more of the resource that we're looking for, and it's resveratrol. Resveratrol is wonderful at chasing cellulite out of the skin. Chicken breast. And why do we say chicken breast? Or other lean meats. Turkey breast would be another one. Because these high protein foods increase your proteins, which then decrease your carb load. The carb load, the bad refined carbs, are what's creating these lumps, bumps, and cellulite nuisance around the body. Other great foods are those that are high in omega-3 fatty acids. Those would be your fatty fishes. So sardines, salmon, and oysters would be your top 3. Talking about those watery fruits and vegetables, cucumber, watermelon, pineapple, home run. Eat those as often as you can and as much as you can. Not only will they hydrate the facial skin, they'll also chase the cellulite away. Avocado, absolutely fabulous. Monounsaturated fat, which help chase the cellulite. So everybody, at some time or another, comments to me, well, I don't eat avocado because it's a fat food and it's going to make me fat. It's not a fat food like a bacon grease or hamburger grease or butter. It's a monounsaturated fat, so it's a much better fat and absolutely does wonderful things amongst the body. Asparagus, lovely vegetable that fights cellulite and is absolutely delicious. Raw nuts. I'm going to take a minute here because raw nuts, they're not coached a bunch, they're not talked about a bunch, and they're wonderful for the body. They have the plant sterols in them, and these plant sterols in raw nuts like walnuts, pecans, peanuts, almonds, they increase testosterone in men, which is good for men. They increase progesterone naturally in women, which are great for women. And they decrease the bad estrogens that are so untoward and cause havoc in our body. And in a middle-aged or older man, and in a woman who's facing menopause and beyond, these bad estrogens do horrible things throughout the body. Not only do they contribute to fat, weight gain, moodiness, depression in both sexes, but primarily women, that high estrogen can cause breast cancer. That's estrogen 1, E1 estrone. It can also cause breast cancer in men. The most problem we have in men is not so much the breast cancer, although they can get it. That estrone will cause their breast tissue to become saggy and more female-like. It will cause their stamina and energy to decline, and the performance of their male organs to either decline or get in a situation where it's very problematic. So, big cheerleading ploy for raw nuts. Some whole grains, don't overdo it on the whole grains. They have a lot of these beautiful plant sterols. And we're talking about oats and bran. We're not talking about white bread. Green tea and chamomile tea, full of antioxidants which decrease stress. When we decrease stress, we decrease free fatty acids, we decrease fat accumulation, therefore decrease cellulite. Those wonderful antioxidants. Don't forget, as always, to like and share this video, this webinar on cellulite, to be entered to a drawing. This week we're going to offer a free lymphatic draining session to one of our participants who likes and shares this video. As, by the way, last week's winner during our harvest holiday smoothie that we created, packed with vitamins and minerals, Franklin Smith won an alkaline green. So we'll be calling you, Franklin Smith, so that you can have your product. We'll either deliver it to you or mail it to you, or you can pick it up. If you'd like, click the link below in the description and become part of our team. So, we've talked about the foods that are good for us. We've talked about the foods that are bad for us, pizza, processed fast foods, and why the lymphatic system can't drain on its own. We will put up in our website the lymphatic drainage. So if this is something new to you, you can exactly see where it is. But the lymphatic draining points are behind the knees, in the inguinal or groin region of the body on both sides of the body, in the axilla, which is the underarms, the upper ears, and those are your main points to actually drain lymph from the body. And besides the ones that are behind the knees, all other lymphatic node points to drain these poisons and toxins out of the body are on the front of the body. So the front groin, the front axilla, the front of the ears. Well, therefore, everything on your backside, from your ankles up to your thighs, up to your buttocks, up to your back, there's no drainage points. So if we don't bring the fluid around, and we'll demonstrate how, then what happens is you get accumulation of cellulite, fat, or that dreaded muffin top. Speaking of which, a little bit of hint on C-sections. When a woman has a C-section or any scar that's across the mid-abdomen, what we're doing is further acknowledging that we cannot get the lymph, the toxins back to the lymph nodes to get out of the body, so they get trapped. So ladies with an upper abdomen or lower abdomen scar become with a lump of fluid. It just looks like a lump, a muffin top, and then a bulge perhaps below the scar. So a bulge below the C-section or other abdominal scar, and a bulge or muffin top above the section or abdomen scar. So what we will show you today is that if you have one of these, you brush below the scar into the inguinal or groin lymph nodes. The little muffin top above the scar, we're going to brush from center out to our sides and then up to the underarms to drain. Sounds a little confusing at first, but it's very, very simple. If you've missed any of our previous webinars, they can all be found on our channel, Dr. Burkenstock's Skin Body Health. That would be our YouTube channel, Dr. Burkenstock Skin Body Health. In addition to the teaching episode we're going to have tonight on lymphatic drainage, we also have some cellulite bundles. So in the vitamin family, things that are excellent for cellulite is collagen, vitamin C powder, and a great multivitamin and multi-mineral. If you're lacking in any of these, you can accumulate cellulite faster and on a quicker basis. With fulfilling these, you're going to see the work that you do through working out, eating better, and lymphatic drainage exercise with our body brushes, that you're going to see a better improvement overall. Anybody who orders our bundle will also receive a complimentary product, and that will be 20% off for this entire week. As far as topical, we have number one, we mentioned red wine, red grapes that contain resveratrol. So we've got our Majestic Grape, and this is applied topically to the skin anywhere where you have dimpling, and you would do this after you do the Gouache Stone and the body brushing treatment, which we're about to show you. In addition to this, we've just reformulated our product, Cellulite Smoother, and added a little dose of caffeine as well as aloe, and it is really doing a superior job. So the Cellulite Smoother and Majestic Grape will be 25% off until the end of December. Take you right through Christmas. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to have a demonstration today on lymphatic drainage. We're going to bring up our model, and she's kind enough to let us show lymphatic drainage through gouache stoning and body brushing, which improves all the way around. If you try this for 2 weeks, I promise that you will see some change in your definition and cellulite. So what we would start with first, and it's a little bit hard to see in lighter skin, but as I'm looking here at our beautiful model, we've got a little bit of dimpling in the upper thigh, and when I turn to the back, we've got a little bit of dimpling in the outer thigh. So her back is still very well maintained, and when we fold her arm, we see a little bit of excess fluid hanging around the arm. So some people think this is bat wings, or this is my, in our family line, we tend to have larger arms. For a tremendous amount of that period of time, the it's actually fluid that's caught between the fascia and the skin that may or may not form cellulite bumps, but it's the same process what we've been talking about all night. So first of all, I'm going to take the stone and I'm going to go down to the little dimpling that I see, and I'm actually going to make it a little bit uncomfortable, and I'm putting a lot of pressure with this gouache stone. A gouache stone is a Chinese stone. They're very easy to get. You can get them here or you can buy them online. And we're going to take that gouache stone and go into the little dimpling spots and really, really rub very, very hard. You can certainly do this for yourself. There's another one a little here. Rub, 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 rub. We know we've gotten to the point where we want to go. First of all, when we stop feeling that sort of crumbly or crackerjack feel under the skin, so we know that we've sort of dissipated some of that toxin. You can actually feel it underneath the stone when you're pressing on the skin. Then we're going to start body brushing. Remember, the nose and the legs are two places: behind the knee and in the groin. The groin is where the upper thigh meets the abdomen. So here we have a set of nodes and behind the legs. So first of all, I'm going to start at her ankles and I'm going to brush up. And we're brushing up the toxins and fluids. And I'm going to bring them around behind the knee. So I'm brushing towards the back of the knee. And for those of you who are equestrian, this is much like brushing a horse. So we're draining fluid into the back of that knee. Then I've already worked on this thigh with the gouache stone. I'm going to start at the back and just brush up. Come to the front and brush up. We're stimulating the fluid to go up. Remember, the lymph system has no pumps. So the only way to get the fluid and toxins up and out of the body is to get them into the nodes. So we've got to drive it up manually or with intense exercise, because otherwise the fluid's going to stay here, start pushing between the fascia and the skin and creating more and more cellulite. Now I'm coming around. I'm brushing that fluid around. Now, most women's top area of problem is right here in the inner thigh network. There's not a lot of arteries, veins, or lymphatic system there, so we really got to brush this harder so we don't get saggy in between that, in between the thigh at the upper thigh, but in between the thighs. And then now we're going to brush to those nodes. Now, if our client had on, nothing, which is a great way to do it before the shower, we would be brushing and then into that node. It will still do a fine job over, her apparel, but it would even do a better job if I can brush right into those lymph nodes. I'm going to do a few more straight up strokes. Now I'm going to come from the back, brushing those toxins around. And right up into the lymph node. So it's probably a little bit hard to appreciate on the film, but right now we've got a beautiful red glow to her skin. That means her circulation is ramped up and she's throwing that fluid up into the lymph nodes in the groin area. If she had a C-section scar or an abdomen scar, I would be starting in the middle section at the belly button. I would brush above the scar towards the side, and then of course once again she would be without apparel, and we would brush up into the upper arm, because we know our other set of lymph nodes are under the arm in the front and the axilla. So we're going to take those toxins right up. You would be amazed what this can do to a muffin top in reducing its appearance and existence if you in fact did this on a regular basis. Now below the scar we never want to brush up. Below an abdomen or C-section scar or a tummy tuck scar, we would take this across and brush it right into these lower inguinal or upper thigh lymph nodes. On the other side, we would complete the same thing. Imagine if she had a scar, we would go above the scar from belly button to the side, and below the, and then up, to the axilla to dump into these next lymph nodes. Above the scar, we go across and up into the axilla or arm lymph nodes, and then below the scar, mid-center, come across, and we're brushing it into the inguinal lymph nodes. that is about as really as simple as it is. All you need is a Gouache Stone and a body brush to get excellent results on cellulite that's currently aggravating your body. If you want to prevent cellulite and prevent aging, this is an excellent thing to do as well. It can be done by anybody. If you'd like to have a demonstration or come in for an appointment, we're happy to do it for you, but it's really simple to do at home. All you need is a Gouache Stone and a body brush. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, please.
Is it good to use an oil with the Gouache Stone?
You don't want to use the oil for the Gouache Stone or the body brush, because you actually want that friction between the fascia and the skin. Another good time to do is before the shower, because all the work you've done on the cellulite will be further enhanced when you get into a warm or hot shower.
Would you suggest using Cellulite Smoother with the Gouache Stone?
Yes. So after you do your home body treatments, our Cellulite Smoother has several herbs in it which go inside and plump the skin and pull the hydration to the surface. The more hydration you have on the surface of the skin, the less the cellulite's going to look. I'm often asked the question, should we put the Cellulite Smoother on our face since it can smooth and plump? And the answer is no. While caffeine is a fine product to put in the cellulite of the skin below the face and neck, you don't ever want to put a bunch of caffeine on neck, face, and above.
About how many treatments do you think it would take to start seeing results?
Well, if you were consistent with this and did this once a day, probably within 3 to 4 weeks, you'd see some improvement. If you did this plus exercise, plus got the processed pizza, donuts, ice cream out of your life, you may see it a lot sooner. And never forget to add water. Water is your best friend in every point of our healthcare, but especially with cellulite as well. Okay, thank you so much for your participation tonight. Remember to like and share us, and we will have the lymphatic diagram on our website. We'll post it along with what we've talked about tonight so that you can personally look up close. It's a little hard to understand if you hadn't heard this information before. See where the nodes are and where to brush. If you have any questions, as always, go ahead and email us at info@skinbodyhealth.com. That's info, I-N-F-O, @skinbodyhealth.com, and we're happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much.